So we have been on this adventure this summer through our All Ages worship, teaching all ages about the amazing attributes of the Almighty. We've been getting to know God, or maybe for some of us, getting to know God for the first time, learning about who He is and what He is like. And we've learned all sorts of things about Him through this summer. We've learned that He is Trinity, 3 in 1, this mysterious combination of the fact that He has one godly essence. So indeed, we serve one God, but mysteriously is expressed in 3 distinct persons, Father, Son, and Spirit. What an amazing mystery, which I think we talked about how it reminds us about how God is so much bigger than our understanding. And in fact, as one of the things I said during that sermon is, it's completely compatible with the idea that God is bigger than our understanding, that there'll be aspects of His nature that I won't fully be able to grasp. Then we talked about how He is good, how He is sovereign and eternal. We got the kids to file up on the front and give all sorts of words about how He's omnipotent and omniscient and how He's sovereign, eternal, and He has this expansive nature. We talked about how He is compassionate, and with compassionate, we started looking at Exodus chapter 34, verses 6 to 7, how God described not just what He aspires to be, but what He has already demonstrated Himself to be through all the journey with the Israelites at the time, that He is compassionate, gracious, loving, slow to anger, faithful, and just. What a great God that we serve. And today we come to the final portion of what He is like, how He is holy. We have sung this already. We have sung holy, holy, holy. But I want to help us understand a little bit of what this word means. Many of us might have a sense of what it means, but I want to bring us all along. What does holy mean? This is a very churchy word. We don't really use this in kind of other walks of life. And rightly so. There are some words that are described as very churchy words that are like, maybe we should stop using that word because it's making us seem like we're kind of this otherworldly entity. This one perhaps is one of the candidates for ones I think that it should be reserved for church, precisely because of what it means. So let's go into it. First of all, holy means that one is set apart. You might have heard this phrase before, that one is set apart, that which is a way to say that, not to say that it's an exclusionary thing per se. Of course it results in being so, but it results in that something being set apart for a specific purpose. Like, for instance, if I was wanting to make pancakes and we only had a certain amount of flour, I'd want to set apart a certain amount of it just in case we had other people baking this week and so on and so forth. I need to set it apart so it has this special purpose for this thing. And God is in that same way set apart, in that He has this special nature that sort of is special in all creation. It needs to be set apart for that purpose. One of the things that He is set apart from in that way is from sin. Many of us might already know this a lot about His nature, how He is not, it's not compatible with God to have sin as part of He will just sort of burn up sin in the process of his nature being His nature. And so He needs to be set apart from that sin in order to sort of maintain His nature. In that way, He then ends up being pure, one of the other elements of holiness. Some will say, if you look at definitions online, it will talk about moral purity. But I think that might sometimes capture a meaning that, I don't know, when we talk about moral purity, sometimes there's a vision that kind of comes up about someone being this sort of otherworldly, sort of like good entity that's kind of robotic and just always does the right thing, this kind of goody two-shoes kind of thing. Whereas I think when we talk about God being holy, it's not that He's just some sort of like goody two-shoes character. It's more that He is just this pure essence of goodness, which is, again, the third thing, that He is the height of goodness. He is this pure expression of all that's good, right, and righteous in the world. And then finally, of course, one of the reasons why that I think it might be appropriate to reserve it for church is because one of the things we know and confess as believers in God, that God is the only one who is holy. Because of this characteristic of Him, that He is so good, so pure, so set apart, He is the only one that is holy, and as a result, that creates a sort of natural separation between Him and us. But now, even with all of that sort of wordy explanation, I know for myself, it has been sometimes very challenging to fully comprehend what holiness means. And so this is where we come to our portion of all ages service where we all desperately need the assistance of the kids. Kids, could you please come up and join me? Sometimes adults have a hard time understanding very complicated concepts. We need your help, guys. We need your help in order to be able to fully understand what holiness is like. So what I want is for some of you, I need us to spread out through the platform. So I need someone to be kind of over here, someone to be over here, someone here. But I need one person, maybe Julia. If you're comfortable, Julia, do you want to be the one that's standing right in the center? I'm going to take the microphone so that everyone can hear me. There we go. Is this okay? Or would you like someone else to stand in the center? Thumbs up if you're okay. You're okay. All right. Julia here is someone who is holy. She is set apart. She is pure. She is the height of goodness. And only one thing is holy. And what I'd like to liken holiness to, and I'm not the first person to make this analogy, you'll see other people making this analogy, is to a very hot star, like our sun. Here, Julia is burning with all the goodness of the warmth and light. And so because of this goodness and warmth that Julia has, all the people around here are enjoying the warmth of the holiness here. So guys, I want you guys to look like, what does it look like if you're sort of basking in the warmth of like the sun? Ah, yes, there we go. See, this is one of the features of holiness. Holiness is good. It's this bright light, this warm light that comes here. But what happens if you try to be united, come close to this holy entity? So, Kaylee, I'm going to get you to start walking towards, it's feeling a little hot. It's feeling a little hotter. You got too close, and then you burn up. There you go. So sit down because you're burned up. That's what it looks like when you burn up. There we go. There's another person who wants to become close to this holy, they're so good, they're so light, so attractive, and it feels so nice from a distance. But as Hannah gets closer and closer and closer and closer, she burns up. That's what it looks like to be burned up as well. Julia comes up, you're not Julia, you're Jillian. It's the same sound. That's how I got confused. I know you're Jillian. Jillian comes up, and she gets a little too close to the sun, she burns up. There you go. This is Oscar-worthy going on here. And then the final person comes up, gets a little too close, and then there we go. Oscar-worthy performance. There we go. You can see how, and now Gabby comes a little too close, and now you burn up as well. There we go. Here is the challenge of holiness. There's nothing bad about holiness. The problem is when something is so bright, when something is so pure, when something is so warm, anything else that doesn't share its essence just kind of burns up in the presence of it. And this is one of the things that I try to help people understand, because people sometimes see holiness as this thing, I can never reach, so God is somehow looking down on me, and it's this sort of like knock against God, that he is sort of establishing this, say, moral standard that is different from me. And this, Julia is helping us understand, and the rest of the kids, thank you all, is helping us understand how it's just that God is just so good, so holy, so pure, that anything else that doesn't share his essence must be able to burn up. It will just naturally burn up in the process. So if only there was something one could do to either shield the person from the holiness, or, if you will, share in the essence of the holiness. And so right here, I have special holiness sharing mantles. And so what God did for us is, here, Julia, I want you to give this to one of your friends. There we go. And then as soon as Hannah received this covering, this mantle that allowed her to not only be shielded, because it's not that she was necessarily shielded from this, but now by putting it over her, she got to put it over you. By covering herself in this holiness, she's kind of shared, and now she's able to stand up and be close to Julia. There we go. Julia, can you give this to one other person? There we go. she gets covered by sharing in the holiness, imparting the holiness. She covers herself, and she's able to stand up. One more. Julia, there you go. You can give it to someone. There you go. And unfortunately, I only have one more. There we go. We now have, so let's say, Jillian, you can stand up and you can go underneath, because it's abundant for everyone. That is what God did in order to share his holiness with us. And so that is why we look to God and thank him for his holiness and declare how holy he is, though he, the only holy one, then shared that holiness with us, not because of what we did. It's not that we earned it, not that we paid for it. He paid for it, and now we get to share in that. Now, what did that practically look like? So I want you guys to put there's one more demonstration that I need you guys to help us with. So everybody put your towels or your holiness mantles in the bag here. One of the things that God did in order to allow for his holiness to be imparted is exactly what Colleen read for us in the scripture. If you are looking back again in Exodus chapter 40, as we had was beautifully read by Colleen, it was talking about this thing called the tabernacle. And many of us might already know what that is, and so some of you might have been well familiar with what this was. Others might have heard this passage and be like, what is this tabernacle thing that's being talked about? So again, in verse 17, it says, so the tabernacle was set up in the first day in the first month of the second year. When Moses set up the tabernacle, he put the bases in the plate, erected the frames, inserted the crossbars. He spread the tent over the tabernacle and put the covering in the tent. It talks about putting the tablets in the ark and putting them in a special place. What's going on here? Here's what so hold tight, you guys are going to help us with something. The tabernacle looked like this. Please.
Covered up. It's covered up.
Thank you for the assistance. The tabernacle looked like this. It was basically this curtain, this courtyard surrounded by a curtain with this tent in the center. This is I'm going to give you a little bit more of a simplistic diagram just to give you a little bit of a better sense of what it kind of looked like. So there you go. If you can see, and pardon if it's a little small, you had this curtain around with a courtyard, and inside was a holy place and the most holy place. And this is where I'm going to get my assistants to help. I need 4 of you to make like a square with your hands. So how about I get Simon, you stand over here, Gabby, you stand over here, and the 4 of you, I want you to make with your hands a square. So stand like this. There you go. Perfect. There you go. So this is the curtain, and in the middle was the most holy place, was the holy place. So Simon, come in the center. Simon, come on in. There you go. And then right up next to it, Gabby, stand right next to Simon, was the most holy place. So look at what this is looking kind of a little bit like. This is like sort of this what this meaning to look like is we have sort of the center of the sun at the center. Using this analogy, we have in the center, we have this place where God's holiness is the hottest. As we might know about the sun, there's of course the photosphere of the sun, and then there's like the corona, right? I don't know how sciencey you are, but there's this, you can see in the sun, there's that center bit, but then there's like this other sort of warm bit, and then of course there's the part away from that. So right here, Gabby is sort of representing the center of the sun. It's where it's most hottest. And then Simon here is this place where it's just a little bit outside. It's the corona, it's the part where the rays are shining around. And then the courtyard is sort of that other expanse, that other part expanding beyond it. And so what God did is he created this tabernacle as a way, as we read in this passage, how in verse 34, then the cloud covered the tent of the meeting. So the cloud covered Gabby, covered the tent of the meeting. I lost my place. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of the meeting because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. So,
a towel for the tent?
Sure. There you go. Cloud comes over Gabby. There we go. Fantastic. Good idea. Just give it to, there we go. Fantastic. So what happened here is that God is coming in, and he is like the center of the sun. And of course, the same problem exists. If people try to enter and get close to that sun, same problem that was happening with all the kids here before. They come, they just burn up. As it says Moses could not enter the tent of the meeting. He would have been fried. And so what did God do? He instituted what I have called this global rescue plan, which started at the beginning of Scripture. The very next book after this is Leviticus, where they applied sort of a ritual law to allow people to enter into the courtyard, but then the special priesthood to enter into the most high place. You guys are good, actually. Thank you so much for your help. You guys can sit down. Let's give a hand to our assistants. And this is where, for many of us, the Old Testament is confusing because, of course, there's all these laws, all these rules, all these rituals. We see this as this restrictive sort of God was bringing his people down or telling them what to do kind of. We see this as negatively. As opposed to seeing it whereby here is this holy God, this burning sun, Julius standing in the center, and everyone's burning up in his presence. And yet out of his mercy, he created this tabernacle structure, which kind of resembled that holiness thing. And he created this staged system whereby not everyone could enter into the most holy place, but you had a representative. You had someone who could come in and commune with God so that the whole of the people could have a relationship with him. And this is why we celebrate the cross. Because the cross was this mighty tabernacling event. In John chapter 1, it says that the Word was God, the Word was with God, and God dwelt among us in verse 14. And that word dwelt is the same word as tabernacle in Hebrew. God tabernacled with us. God dwelt with us. The tabernacle was thus, the temple was no longer necessary because Jesus on the cross was the one that came to be that most holy person in the center of things. And yet from his sacrifice, he allowed it so that you didn't have to do all these rituals in order to make yourself covered by this thing and do this cleansing ritual or that cleansing ritual or have one special person be able to wear the right mantle to be able to stand closer to the sun just simply by the blood he shed on the cross. It was like this mantle that covered over every single one of us who trust in him. It sounds sometimes gruesome from an outside perspective to talk about being covered by his blood. But his blood, and even if we can get past kind of the gruesomeness of that imagery, if you're not familiar with it, it becomes this glorious, wonderful image of the fact that Jesus paid for our ability with his life for us to be covered with this holiness-sharing mantle. That because of what he did on the cross, we can now get close to Julia. We can get close to him. We can get perfectly in unity with him. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it doesn't feel like we're very close to him. This is where our feelings betray the reality that Jesus paid the price for. Whatever you feel like in this moment, if you confess your sin and declare yourself a servant of God, if you confess that Jesus is Lord, you don't have to do anything but just simply accept that Jesus is your Lord. You are covered by the same mantle, by the same blanket, by the same blood that covers all of us. You might feel distant from God right now. You might feel that distance from a holy God and an unholy me. But will we hear not just the truth of some book, but the truth of a real event that happened roughly 2,000 years ago? That a God-man, came to earth, gave up his life. And that had significance through all ages. That anyone who simply declares their allegiance to him and say, Jesus, you are my Lord, we share in his holiness. Not because we have done great holy things, because God, like Julia demonstrated, just gifting us these towels to put over ourselves, God just gifted it to us. And so wherever you're at, maybe let's just take a moment of silence to just give gratitude to a God who has given us his holiness even when we didn't deserve it. Even if this morning you found yourself in a completely sinful state, unworthy of maybe even stepping into these walls, I'm glad you did. Because today is the day that you perhaps are reminded again from our God that he has paid the price, that he is indeed holy. And we sing songs of gratitude for his holiness. And yet his holiness is to be shared because of what he did. And so thus we are able to sing and celebrate and enjoy the company of our friends and brothers and sisters here because he is indeed the one who was mighty to save. And so let us indeed conclude our worship by declaring to God that he is the one who is mighty to save us.